You are watching the best of The Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.
This is a big deal, folks, because you've got Al Gore saying in 2007, 2009, and countless speeches that by the winter and the summer of 2013, we would see a completely melted northern ice cap. Well, it grew at record numbers, and Mark Moreno is the master and advises Congress and has all the scientists that he researches with on his site, climatedepot.com. He has all the actual numbers, but just in a general sense, southern pole getting bigger, northern pole getting bigger. They always point in the summer at it shrinking with a satellite. They always shrink. That's why the Vikings talked about a northern passage into Russia, you know, and writings 1,000 years old as Beowulf. But they use the public's ignorance and say polar bears can't swim, penguins can't swim. They talk about penguins are going to drown at the North Pole, that there are no penguins at the North Pole. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we've seen and covered. Al Gore and all his lies that have been proven in court in England. They can't show school kids, you know, his film in England because it's been proven to be a fraud. Had like 65 lies, I think, proven in court, or was it 63? I forget. The point is, now they're all over the news. National Geographic just came in the mail. I've been taking it since I was a kid. My grandmother still gives it to me. God bless her soul. One of them died. But they used to both give it to me. But the point is, one of them still gives it to me, the one that's alive. It said we're going to be flooded and dead next year, and that the cold is all caused by this. CBS News is now reporting with it's beyond a quack, and that's what Mark's here to tell us about. The most incredible thing ever. That this record cold temp and the Great Lakes freezing is a heat wave. So up is down, down is up. Raising the debt ceiling will not raise your debt. You can keep your doctor. Your premium will go down, not up. I did not have sex with that lady. I mean, the level of lying here. So to break this down is Mark Moreno of ClimateDepot.com. Mark, this is simply amazing, and it ties in to a piece of news I'm going to go to in a moment after you've had a chance to break things down. But thank you for joining us, sir.
Hey, thank you, Alex. Happy to be here. Yes, Al Gore made all sorts of predictions about the Arctic, about the Antarctica. The United Nations is on record about global sea ice. We are now well above average for global sea ice. And in fact, we've had, depending on what month and what you look at, Earth has had more ice in general than we've had probably in the last 20 or 25 years, and it's on an increasing trend. The Antarctica, which is the South Pole, has been at or near and exceeded record extent for the last several years, and this year it's breaking all-time records, the highest they've ever had since satellite monitoring began. In the Arctic, we had an incredible year-to-year, the largest year-to-year recovery of Arctic ice, and the Arctic has diminished some since the late 1970s, but think back. When did we start monitoring Arctic ice with satellites? At the end of the 40-year global cooling scare, the coming ice age scare. So, yes, Arctic has lost ice since that period, but there's indications this year that the older, thicker ice is now being wedged and that it's not going to lose anything significant or near record like Al Gore and others are predicting. But both poles had a record year in their own ways, and now global sea ice is doing well above average. But what's most shocking is when we have heat waves, and be they in Moscow, be they in Australia, no matter where they are, that's blamed on man-made global warming. When we now have record cold, instead of just saying, well, that's an exception, the global warming activists, including Al Gore, who now says it's consistent, are blaming, quote, excess heat in the atmosphere for destabilizing the Arctic air mass and essentially making the jet stream dive down with the polar vortex. They come up with all these convoluted explanations, and now every weather event is consistent with man-made global warming.
But it gets better. Up on your site, you looked up who the CBS expert is. They might as well have gotten Johnny Carson as the great Karnak.
Yes, so this is an amazing story that, you know, it's a Climate Depot exclusive. Just posted this morning, about 2 hours ago. The CBS expert on CBS this morning that they had on to explain how global warming is causing record cold and snow was a New York City College physicist named Michio Kaku. And Michio Kaku was only identified as a professor on this show, and he claimed that the excess heat in the Arctic was against intuition, essentially causing all of this record cold and heat. Now, before we even knew, and I'll get to what he is in a moment, scientists were trashing CBS News for featuring this guy's views. In fact, PhD meteorologist Ryan Mao of the Weather Bell said that, and he quote, "No effing clue what Michio is talking about." And these are in quotes. I'm quote. He called him a festering wound on the field of meteorology. These are what his colleagues, it wasn't even his colleagues, because this man's a physicist who doesn't even really study the weather. These are what his colleagues called him, was a festering wound. And this is before we found out that this is a paranormal guru, if you will. Michio Kaku, I said cuckoo strictly by accident or Freudian slip, I'm not sure, but Kaku was featured by CBS, and he promotes things like telepathy, telekinesis, mind reading, and on his website. And this is all part of what some people would call magic, mentalism. Telepathy is where you sort of communicate without using any.
So what you're saying, you've always said it's based on voodoo, and now they're officially doing it.
And telekinesis is the alleged psychic ability of allowing a person to influence a physical system without physical interaction. In other words, it's a fancy way of sort of like mind-altering a way of looking at things. Now, it goes on. He has a whole book on this. He's been featured. He actually went on and let Stephen Colbert make fun of him on the Daily Show, or whatever, not the Daily Show, but whatever Stephen Colbert's show is. And this man, his book is called The Future of the Mind. He's claiming that feats such as photographing dreams, uploading memories, mentally controlled robots, and telekinesis, telepathy have already been achieved. And he goes further and says we're going to have a complete map of the brain, and scientists are going to be able to send our consciousness throughout the universe. So the
point is, he is not a meteorologist, and CBS knew that, but never thought to mention it.
No. In fact, they couldn't pick a more extreme outlier, on the science of global warming. His comments were just, again, deemed as no effing clue by another meteorologist. And the fact that this is a man into, like, essentially mentalism. This is a guy who belongs on a Las Vegas stage performance, not someone who should be consulted as a weather expert. And this is interesting to see what CBS News does about this, because they won't feature any skeptical scientists, and if they do, if some skeptical scientist got a $200 fee 25 years ago by some fossil fuel industry, they'll say he's discredited and no one can talk to him. But someone else comes on and promotes telepathy and telekinesis, mind reading, and they're portrayed as the esteemed expert by CBS News. By the way, it's the same network where Scott Pelley has actually on record, the current CBS News anchor is on record when he was with 60 Minutes a few years back, 2007, I believe, saying that he would not interview any global warming skeptical scientists for the same reason he wouldn't interview anyone who is skeptical of the Holocaust. In other words, they're making direct comparisons of the Holocaust, and they will not interview them. So this is an amazing thing to see CBS promoting a mind-reading expert as a climate expert.
The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding, making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families, and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
The brainwashing media machine has been turned up on high, and it's time for humanity to double down on the true people's media and strike back against the tyrants that are destroying our civilization with their lies and fraud. We are the resistance. You are the resistance. You are the info war. It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.